Hi guys. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about pornography. Um, my first experience with pornography was probably the adult to child pornography when I was 7 with my grandfather. And then I was babysitting for a family that had a lot of problems. The children were obviously not taken care of, their diapers sagging. They would take off their diapers and go to the bathroom on the couch. The mom didn't come home when she was supposed to come home. And I ended up staying at this house for over 24 hours where there were people in the basement that I could have sworn were on drugs, and it was scary. But I remember going into the bathroom and there was this stack of magazines right, where the kids could get them. And I remember them saying for adult use only. And I was curious and I pulled it out, and I remember turning the page like twice just in shock at what I had seen. Like I didn't know that there could be anything like that at that point. And I just remember those images like sticking with me. Even to this day, I can still recall a couple of those images. And I remember the feeling that I felt, the grossness and the evilness, and just, yeah, disgusting. And shame. I felt shame. Then, when I was 15, my cousin, or rather my mom's cousin, committed suicide. And we were apparently the closest in proximity relatives. And so my mom received the call from the police about his death. And she was asked to come to the apartment to collect some of his things. And I remember asking my mom if I could go for whatever reason, and I ended up in this crime scene. And they had removed the body, but that's all they removed. And I remember the pile of blood on the floor and the piece of scalp on the ceiling. And we were told that what had happened just before the suicide was that he asked his fiancée if she would marry him again. And she said to him that she needed him to get off of the pornography before she could marry him, that she wanted to, but she couldn't deal with the pornography. And my cousin didn't feel like he could. He felt so trapped and so enamored in that addiction of this pornography that he ended up ending his life. That's porn. Porn is evil. Porn is controlling. Porn makes you feel disgusted and shameful. Porn makes you want to do it in dark corners, secret spaces. But as I grew up, got married, there wasn't a lot of talk about sex with my parents. And there were a lot of problems because of the former porn. Well, he went back to porn after that, but my husband's porn use himself, he was educated that way. And the experiences that I had caused us to have a horrible sexual relationship. It was painful. It felt like I was being abused over and over again. And I was desperately trying to find help in this area of our lives. I also had this fear that if I didn't have sex with my husband, that he would leave me, that the marriage would be over, and that it would be my fault, because that is something that I overheard that happened to some of my neighbors in my youth. They got divorced because the wife wouldn't have sex with her husband and would put the child in the bed with them at night. So I kind of felt like this is something that I had to do. I was in this covenant relationship with my husband, and I actually did crave that loving touch, but this was just like a torture, like that happened over and over and over and over again. My mom ended up giving me a video, and it was called Tantric Sex by the Sinclair Institute, I believe. And it was actually a huge contradiction for me and my husband, but we desperately needed help. And so we sat down and we watched this video. And I remember thinking how beautiful it was to watch these couples who loved each other engage in this loving sexual touch. And then afterwards feeling, again, confusion and shame, and I did something wrong because I watched pornography. It's just a little bit like confusing there, because but I just went back to the good feeling that I felt versus the bad feeling of seeing some of the other images that I had seen. And I guess I had this idea growing up that my body was disgusting, evil, gross, that we kind of hide sex in the corner. It's kind of something that we do that's carnal. But there was something about that was just, it just kind of stuck with me about the two different types. And I just wanted to make that clear, that porn kills people. Porn takes children off of the streets and rapes them. Porn is what made my life worse. But loving sex and our bodies were created by God and are good and are meant for us to unite as families. I just wanted to clarify that with you.